Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Joan Vassos makes major change to wedding plans. Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos found love again with Chalk Chapel after her husband passed away in 2021. While she initially wasn't looking for a proposal, she said yes when Chalk proposed during the season finale. Joan opened up about a major change she made to their wedding plans. Keep reading for all the details. Joan Vassos talks early connection with Chalk. Chalk Chapel knew before he joined the Golden Bachelorette that Joan Vassos was the one for him. He opened up recently about how a social media video he saw of Joan sparked his interest. It took her a little longer to feel a connection with him. She went into the dating show with an open mind and an open heart, willing to give every suitor a fair chance. But sparks flew with Chalk on their first one-on-one date to Disneyland early in the season. Joan Vassos explained what happened to People magazine. That initial confidence and how easy we were together was really evident at the Disneyland date. After that, it built very quickly and we got to know each other pretty well, the important stuff. She continued. Then once we were engaged, it was time to find out the other stuff, but the important stuff we already had settled. As for Chalk, he told the outlet, by the time we got to Bora Bora, I knew I loved her and wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. Golden Bachelorette couple not rushing down the aisle. Unlike the golden couple before them, Joan Vassos and Chalk Chapel aren't rushing to the altar. Millions of viewers tuned in to watch Jerry Turner and Theresa Nist marry in a televised wedding special, only to watch the couple file for divorce 3 months later. Chalk and Joan haven't ruled out a TV wedding but are taking things slow and enjoying their engagement. Joan Vassos makes major change to wedding plans. Joan Vassos admitted that their wedding isn't a priority right now. She explained, "We're really looking forward to just being a couple out in the world and being just normal people living life for at least a couple of months, and then we'll start thinking wedding." However, she realized a major change she'd have to make for the eventual wedding. She was originally thinking of a small and intimate wedding with just their friends and family, but now she thinks inviting millions of Bachelor Nation fans is the right move. Joan Vassos stood in her kitchen, staring at the invitation samples spread out across the table. The sunlight filtering through the blinds illuminated the elegant swirls of calligraphy on the cards, but none of them felt right. With her wedding just 6 months away, Joan should have been excited about finalizing details. Instead, she felt a mounting sense of unease. "What's wrong with classic ivory?" her best friend Ellie asked, nibbling on a biscotti. "It's timeless." Joan shook her head, her dark curls bouncing. "Timeless is exactly the problem. I don't want timeless. I want us. I want something that screams Nick and Joan, not some cookie-cutter wedding." Ellie arched a brow. "Joan, you're marrying into the Vassos family. They expect a grand, traditional Greek wedding with all the bells and whistles. You know, bouzouki music, a mountain of baklava, and a guest list the size of a small nation." Joan sighed, her fingers tracing the edge of one of the invitations. Ellie was right. Nick's family had been dreaming about this wedding since the moment he proposed. But Joan couldn't shake the feeling that she was losing herself in the process. Later that evening, as Nick walked into the kitchen, Joan decided to broach the subject. He was carrying a grocery bag filled with ingredients for pasticcio, his mother's favorite dish. His easy grin faded when he noticed the frown etched across Joan's face. "What's wrong?" he asked, setting the bag on the counter. Joan hesitated. Nick had been so supportive throughout the wedding planning, even agreeing to scale back the guest list when she'd initially felt overwhelmed. Still, this felt bigger than flower arrangements or centerpieces. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice measured, "about the wedding, about what we really want." Nick leaned against the counter, his expression curious but calm. "Okay, what's on your mind?" Joan took a deep breath. "I think we need to do something different, something smaller, more intimate." Nick blinked. "Smaller? Like how small?" "I don't know, maybe just immediate family and close friends. And maybe not in Chicago." Nick stared at her, processing her words. "Not in Chicago?" "Joan, my yaya barely leaves her house, let alone the city. How are we supposed to convince her to travel?" Joan reached for his hand. "I know it's a lot to ask, but think about it. Instead of a big, overwhelming production, we could have a destination wedding. Somewhere beautiful, like Santorini or Mykonos. It could be a celebration of us in the place where your family's roots are. Nick rubbed the back of his neck, his brow furrowed. You know my mom's going to have a heart attack when she hears this, right? Joan winced. I know. But I think it's worth it. This is our day, Nick. Don't you want it to feel like us? Nick's lips twitched into a small smile. I do, but let's be honest, your idea of us is a bit different from my mom's idea of us. The next week was a whirlwind of phone calls, family meetings, and more than one awkward conversation. As expected, Nick's mother, Maria, was less than thrilled. A wedding is about family, Maria had insisted during a particularly heated discussion. How can we celebrate without everyone there? Joan tried her best to explain. We're not trying to exclude anyone, Maria. We just want something more personal. And think about it, Greece is such a special place for your family. Wouldn't it be beautiful to have the ceremony there? Maria's lips pursed tightly, but Joan could see the wheels turning in her mind. Santorini, you said. With the blue domes and the ocean views? Yes, Joan said eagerly. It would be breathtaking, and we'd still incorporate all the traditions, just on a smaller scale. By the time Maria finally relented, Joan felt like she'd won a marathon. But the real work was just beginning. Joan and Nick dove headfirst into planning their destination wedding. The guest list was trimmed to 40 people, and they found a stunning villa perched on a cliff overlooking the Aegean Sea. It was intimate yet grand, blending Joan's desire for simplicity with the Vassos family's penchant for extravagance. Joan's dress was another major change. She had originally chosen a traditional ball gown with intricate lace details, but it felt out of place for a sunlit ceremony by the sea. Instead, she opted for a flowing, bohemian-inspired gown that moved effortlessly in the breeze. Nick, meanwhile, swapped his classic black tuxedo for a crisp linen suit. When Joan saw him at the final fitting, she couldn't help but laugh. You look like a Greek god, she teased. Only if you're the goddess, he shot back with a wink. As the big day approached, Joan found herself more excited than nervous. The decision to change their wedding plans had been daunting, but it felt right. She and Nick weren't just planning a wedding, they were creating memories that would last a lifetime. When the day finally arrived, it was everything Joan had dreamed of and more. The sun cast a golden glow over the villa as Joan walked down the aisle, her heart racing at the sight of Nick waiting for her. The ceremony was intimate and heartfelt, with the sound of waves crashing against the cliffs below. Afterward, the guests gathered for a feast of fresh seafood, roasted lamb, and of course, baklava. Maria surprised Joan by giving a heartfelt speech, praising her for her vision and acknowledging how special the day had been. You were right, Maria said, her eyes glistening. This is perfect. Thank you for reminding us what really matters. As the night wore on, Joan and Nick danced under the stars, surrounded by their closest loved ones. The strains of bouzouki music filled the air, and Joan felt a deep sense of gratitude. The journey to this moment hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. In making a major change to their wedding plans, Joan had not only stayed true to herself, but also created a celebration that brought everyone closer together. It wasn't just a wedding, it was the beginning of a lifetime of shared dreams and adventures, and as Joan looked into Nick's eyes, she knew they were exactly where they were meant to be.